So first of all, I would like to extend my greetings on behalf of Central University of Punjab and accept my greetings from India. Wadi Chair, Madam Amanda Makonza, Co-Chair, Madam Tanya. The participants, I wish you a very safe, fit and fine times in this time of crisis. So friends, the topic of my presentation is analysis of Indian National Education Policy 2020 with special reference to Sustainable Development Goals. So since the theme of this conference is reconfiguring environmental law amidst COVID-19, and against this theme, against this backdrop, my focus is on the ultimate unit of law. The ultimate unit, which I find that it is basically the individual, the mankind. Even if we look at about 50 years back, 1972 United Nations Conference on Human Environment, that also placed the human beings at the central stage by using the word human. So human environment. And the government have been trying around the world to add the black and white content. So the transformation of content can be seen in last 5 decades. But the question is transformation of behavior of the individuals. So particularly in the developing countries like India as well as in other South Asian countries. So the multiple attempts have been made by the governmental organization, the international organization, even the state governments at multi-level, multi-time, multi-durational, and multi-sector. But the objectives of the environmental laws are still distant. So I wish to focus on transformation of behavior of the individual. So being an academician, against this backdrop, I prefer to speak on the topic, what are new educational policy of India 2020, which was put into course of effect on 29th July 2020 during COVID unlockdown phase 3. So during this phase, national education policy was launched by the NDA government under the prime ministership of Shri Narendra Modi. And the statement of problem which I designed for this presentation is, it is designed by myself, it is futile to expect from someone to perform an obligation which is unknown to thyself. So friends, we are going to complete 5th decade and 50th year, on the eve of 50th year of United Nations Conference on Human Environment and 33 years of submission of our Common Future report submitted by World Commission on Environment and Development. And now the humanity will be at halfway mark, 7.5 years to the Agenda for Sustainable Development 2013. So against this backdrop, I took some variables, some yardsticks, which were adopted, which were expounded at United Nations Conference on Human Environment, that emphasized on adoption for the need. Because Rachel Carson, in her work, The Silent Spring, she pointed out that basically everything, the problem and its solution depends on man's attitude towards nature. Therefore, United Nations Conference on Human Environment emphasized upon the need to develop common outlook and common principles to inspire and guide the peoples of the world. Here, if we focus on the peoples of the world, the peoples, it was deliberately used in pluralistic sense to cover international organizations, institutions, as well and individuals of the then present as well as future generation. So it was also highlighted in Principle 1 of Stockholm Conference, acquisition of power by man to transform his environment in countless ways through the rapid acceleration of science and technology. And in Principle 2, an earth was made. All the governments were appealed to take the responsibility to preserve and protect the natural resources for the present as well as future generation, and people's urgent desire. It was also put on the record in preambular truth of United Nations Conference on Human Environment. And the most important thing I usually highlight when we have to define the man's attitude towards nature, the capability plus wisdom. It has been acknowledged in principle 3 that if the capability and wisdom is used wisely, then the benefits of development can be availed by each individual around this globe. And it can also enhance the quality of life, which is one of the sustainable development goals, decent environment. And if that capability, which has been acquired by the mankind through science and technology, if it is applied wrongly or heedlessly, then it can cause irreparable, incalculable harm to human as well as environment. The other issues which were raised, and even the first presenter has also touched this aspect, that underdevelopment. Underdevelopment is worst polluter. And then challenges of providing decent human existence, deprived people of adequate food and clothing, shelter, education, health and sanitation in principle 4 reminds me of the inaugural text of the Stockholm Conference by Kurt Waldheim, the then United Nations Secretary General. No crisis ever before has put the humanity together. So those golden words are still relevant after 50 years of the United Nations Conference on Human Environment. And in the present COVID-19 phase, those words echo in my mind, that no crisis has ever made the humanity stand together. And the whole humanity has come to a single form, and all are trying to find out the vaccine and how to face this problem. And the developing countries were also urged upon through preambular truth number 5 to redefine, revisit their priorities, giving utmost importance to the people as the most important resource on this earth and part and parcel of environment. So friends, again, we are on the crossroads, and this crossroad dilemma needs prudence, and that prudence, which is an antithesis of ignorance, an insensitive approach which had already been adopted despite adding black and white letters and adding more number of seminars, conferences and conventions. But that Hippocratic approach has resulted into irreparable harm. So at present, on this crossroad, we need some wiser and ground level action. And for that ground level action to be taken in the interest of posterity, so that our resources can be preserved, these can be saved for future generation, we have to focus on individual and how the transformation of behavior of the individuals can be made possible. Outcome document of United Nations Conference on Human Environment, containing a preamble, 26 principles and 109 recommendations, focused to involve stakeholder. And the stakeholder identified were international institutions, international organizations, national and local governments, and the individual. And individuals. Now, if the individuals have also to perform the responsibility to preserve the natural resources, certainly the state and the governments are trying hard to face this challenge. Then I am again reminded of the word that how the individuals of the developing world and the underdeveloped nations can perform the obligations to which they are not aware. So what attempts are being made by the governments? During last 50 years, how many governments have tried to recalibrate, reconfigure their education policy. It is true that the legal framework, the regulatory framework had been time and again repeatedly revised. But whether the national education policies have been reconfigured. So against this backdrop, I had touched a few aspects of, thank you ma'am. I have touched upon some of the aspects of national education policy recently launched. So what we need, the enthusiastic but calm state of mind. And against this backdrop, let's move ahead. Knowledge, education, capacity building, all these things have been recognized so far in Stockholm, Rio, Agenda 21, and SDG 4, inclusive education. And it has also been endorsed by UNESCO in 1997 by introducing a special program for the teachers' education in environmental matters. So the question is, how to face this challenge? By educating people, and educating people. So every person left uneducated about the system and working of this biosphere, our natural system, the nature will make us to pay for it. So sustainability can only start in the mind. So the national education policy is the first education policy of this millennium, and it's page number 13 and para number 5.9 that also acknowledges decent and pleasant service conditions at schools, adequate and safe infrastructure, including working toilets, clean drinking water, clean and attractive spaces, electricity, computing devices, internet libraries, and sports and recreational resources, aiming towards holistic development. And it also focuses upon health, safety, and environment at workplace in school. So this paragraph, what I feel, impliedly presents incorporation of SDG 1 to 12. If we look at the spirit underlying Sustainable Development Goals number 1 to 12, all these goals are covered within this paragraph. And then the green campuses, health system, sustainable livelihoods, vocational programs, their economic growth of the stakeholders, building their scientific temperament, and promotion of innovative, sustainable methodologies and living. So all these sustainable development goals have been duly incorporated and our education policy have been reconfigured. So far as capacity building of school teachers is concerned, the B.Ed program, Bachelor of Education program, gives a special focus in the national curriculum that has been revised, and it has been also mandated under National Education Policy 2020 to sensitize the future teachers regarding the fundamental duties of citizens of India, with special focus to environmental awareness and sensitization under Clause G. Friends, let me share with you that Article 51A(g) of Constitution of India specifies a fundamental duty of each Indian citizen to protect and preserve the natural environment, lakes, forests, rivers, flora and fauna, and to have compassion towards living creatures. And then it encapsulates inclusive education, social justice, equality in providing the opportunities to dream and realize those dreams, which are enshrined in the spirit of Sustainable Development Goal number 4. So that has been covered. Besides, apart from the teachers involved at school level, primary level teaching, in college and university level, the faculty development programs, the orientation and refresher which are attached to their promotion, these programs of 172 hours means about 28 days. These 28 days, out of these 28 days, 24 hours minimum working hours have to be devoted to the teaching on environmental and sustainable development goals issue. Apart from this, there is one policy document issued by Ministry of Human Resource and Development, and the name has recently been changed from MHRD to Ministry of Education. And now the document is Satat Framework. Satat is the Hindi meaning of the word sustainable. And this framework for higher educational institution sets the policy guidelines that the campus should be green, it should be properly landscaped, and the stakeholders, including the students, the teaching, the non-teaching staff should be involved in the decision making. It should be evaluated and accredited by Green Rating Integrated Habitat Assessment by an environmental agency. And we should promote the green catering. We should go for the zero pollution in the campus, the windmills, solar energy, and green event management. So a comprehensive framework has also been laid down by the government of India to reconfigure their policy perspectives on environmental preservation, as well as to introduce the synchronization in accordance with sustainable development goals. So directive principles of state policy 48A, that the protection and improvement of environment and safeguard of forest is the responsibility of the state. And accordingly, Article 51 AG, I had already shared, it has been made the part of faculty development programs in the higher educational training institutions, as well as school level, primary, secondary level teacher training institutes. So a foremost place has been given to Article 51 AG so that the people can be sensitized, because the teacher have been considered as the builder of the future of a nation. Therefore, if the teachers are sensitized, certainly the educational institutions and educational sector can play the role of a pioneer, front runner in bringing about the change and transformation of behavior. So in the end, I have drafted my own words to convey the message. We are the generation predecessors of which were warned by the nature as to the mode and effects of blind growth. Friends, we are the generation having realized first that it is not possible to have a healthy planet in absence of a socio-economic just world. We are the generation having identified the true and realistic meaning of sustainable development, reversing the focus mere from economic growth of individual or individual nation to equitable growth. We are the generation which will prefer to work not for extinction of life on the earth, but for preserving it. We are the generation being fully acquainted with the fact that the advent of science and technology has empowered us to solve environmental problems with its judicious use. Finally, we are the generation being sensitized to the truth that nature is not only to be consumed, but also to be enjoyed. And we are the generation fully conscious of Saint Exupéry's words of wisdom. All these, the world's riches, are not something we own, but something we have on loan from our children. We are the generation who will not be forgiven by posterity for our sins, not crimes, had we not taken the due care, due step in the right direction. With this belief that we have the future in our hands, our generation owes a high sense of duties and acts of wisdom for correction, compiled by myself. So thanks for patient and careful listening. I'm open to queries and observation, and my email ID is also there if somebody has to share the observation. Thanks to the chair, co-chair, and Catherine Handel ma'am. Thank you to the ELA.